is Denson, FTE 217, week 3 assignment. So I'll be going over the critical dimensions, and the 3 parts that I chose to talk about was the magazine, the buffer tube, and your muzzle devices. So the malfunctions that it can occur with each one of these parts, I start off with the buffer tube. Is like when you fire the weapon, the buffer tube can potentially fall off if it's not the right dimensions. But usually all buffer tubes are like, universal and stuff, but a difference in buffer tubes would be like the AR-10 buffer tube and the AR-15 buffer tube, because the bolt carrier group, the size of the buffer tube itself, all of those are different. But another thing with magazines, on the sizes of magazines, like it can cause failure to feed and stuff like that if you don't put the right magazine inside the weapon. And be mindful of like magazines that can hold the same round, like for example a 458, a 300 blackout, and 5.56. All of them can share the same magazine, but not putting the correct round in like can cause like a lot of damage or probably even injuries. And the muzzle device too, the same. Like say if you have a 9mm weapon, but your muzzle device is for something like a 22, it's like putting a 22 suppressor on a 9mm gun. It's not going to be good. So the damages that can occur from this, from the buffer tube side of things, from shooting the buffer tube and not having everything how it's supposed to be, and it being loose and stuff, when the buffer tube flies off from the bolt carrier and the weight and spring, all that bouncing into it, it can potentially strip the thread that causes, it can strip the thread that allows the buffer tube to connect to the lower receiver. For the magazine part of things, like putting a 300 blackout magazine inside of your 5.56 gun, it can blow up the gun because the bullet's not gonna make it through the barrel. It's just gonna be fired. That's it. So the gun will blow up and it'll be damaged. You'll have to get a new gun. And with the muzzle device, that's the same thing. Like you'll have to most likely get a new barrel or something, because there'll be barrel damage with not having the correct muzzle devices on. So strategies to avoid problems like this, I would say always follow instructions, and like not just any instructions from like the manufacturer or user manual, stuff like that, or even piggybacking off of experienced people. So if I don't know what I'm doing sometimes, or I can't find a source, it's good to have like a gunsmith, or even somebody that's not a gunsmith but they're real experienced. You just watch what they do and follow off of them, and usually stuff will happen the way it's supposed to. A few parts that work with these components that I named, like the buffer tube, for example, is the bolt carrier group and the spring and the buffer weight. So the buffer tube is just sitting right there, but it basically holds a bunch of important pieces, and the bolt carrier group, every time it's fired, it recoils into the spring, and the buffer weight works with the spring and stuff, and it allows it to keep cycling the weapon. But the buffer tube is basically that little housing area that basically allows all this to happen. For the muzzle device, the projectiles work with the muzzle device, so it's a part of the barrel, and it affects the way the group may be or how the shot might be fired. So muzzle devices, different designs will direct the gases being released from the weapon. So some of them may shoot gases up, and guns are known to recoil up sometimes, so the gases shooting up can cause the gun to like stay steady. And the magazine, the bolt carrier group basically works with the magazine too, and the barrel. The bolt carrier allows the magazine to feed rounds into the chamber, and then that's how that works together. But this is week 3 assignment, and this is what I got.